This program is brought to you by 3C TV. Like what you learned? Visit our website or follow us on Facebook and Twitter to keep up on the latest 3C TV programs.
So if you've ever had the chance to attend an event that has had a student panel, you can understand how impactful that can be. We're very fortunate to be joined by several student veterans from the local area and a truly dynamic moderator. Many of you may be familiar with Dr. David Joseph through his work on the Welcome Home Creating a Campus Climate of Wellness program. If you've not had the chance to participate in this program, it is being offered this year at this year's summit, so make sure you do attend those sessions. Dr. David Joseph is a clinical psychologist and the team leader of the Oakland Vet Center, where he provides treatment for veterans with readjustment stress and combat or military sexual trauma. Dr. Joseph is the creator of the Welcome Home training that is available to community college campuses throughout the California Community College's Chancellor's Office. Dr. Joseph has also developed trainings for police officers, first responders, and providers on effective interventions for veterans with PTSD. Please welcome Dr. David Joseph and our student veteran panelists.
Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here, see some familiar faces. We wanted to kind of kick off the summit this year by actually putting some faces up here and some real student veterans who are at various stages of their career, and have them kind of talk a little bit about their experiences and where they've been and what they've done, and really what's worked for them, how they have been helped and what successes they've had since arriving on their various campuses. And the way that we're going to do this today is I have a series of questions. We're going to go through those questions together, and if there's time at the end, we'll definitely leave some room for questions from all of you. I promise that we will not cut into lunchtime. So let's start all the way at the end there, and I'm going to ask you, what is your name, age, branch of service, and why did you decide to join the military?
My name's Jack Williams.
You can grab the mic there.
And I was in the United States Marine Corps. I was in the infantry. I'm 27 years old, and I joined the Marine Corps because we were in a time of war, and that's what I felt like young men did. So I left my home in southeast Georgia and signed up, went to Parris Island, and came out here to Camp Pendleton, and was the entire time at 2nd Battalion, 1st Marines. And yeah.
So what years did you serve, and what did you do? What was your MOS, and where did you go?
It was 2006 to 2010. I was in the infantry. I was a 0352. It's an anti-tank guided missileman, but there weren't a lot of armored targets to shoot at. So I was a rifleman and a machine gunner in country. And I was in Iraq in 2009 from January to August, and I was in the South Pacific in 2007 on a Marine, what we call an expeditionary unit, a float. Right.
Okay, thanks.
My name is Jocelyn Vizcarra. I am 25 years old. I served in the United States Marine Corps from 2006 to 2010. And my MOS was a supply warehouse clerk. I served in Okinawa, Japan for 2 years, and I did a tour in Afghanistan.
And why did you decide to join the military?
It was something that I always wanted to do since I was a little girl. I can't, I don't know what actually, I guess, influenced me, because there was no one in my family who was in the military. It was just something that always intrigued me, and after 9/11, it was something that I knew I had to do.
My name is Tom Boskamp, 53 years old, U.S. Army veteran. My MOS was 16 Juliet, Air Defense Radar Operator, served at Fort Bliss, Texas, Fort Polk, Louisiana, Camp Stanton, DMZ, Korea. I joined the military at a young age And we weren't at war at the time, besides the Cold War, and I think I did it because I knew I needed some discipline, and I didn't think that I was going to be able to put that into myself. And I realized that this was a chance that I could take to have someone put the discipline in me.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jacob Lampy. I'm 26 years old. I served in the United States Marine Corps from 2007 to 2011. I decided to join the military because I was a terrible student. Keyword was. Now I'm an awesome student. Like I said, I served from 2007 to 2011. During that time, I deployed 3 times, once to Iraq. I also had a chance to go on a Marine Expeditionary Unit, a MEU, and I did also a tour in Afghanistan to complete my service.
All right. Starting back on the other end, talk a little bit about why you chose to attend college.
Well, the Marine Corps was never a career for me. I wanted to join and do my 4 years and serve and get back out. I knew I wanted to go to college. I didn't know precisely what I wanted to do or how I wanted to go about it. I fell into Saddleback College, basically. I lived in Mission Viejo, California, and I heard that it was this great place for veterans to go and learn a way to be and get an education. And I heard a lot of, there was a buzz about it in the veteran community, that it was a good place to get my education. So that's where I went. I come from a background of people who have gone to college, so I had that something of my father and his father and so on had done so. So I had that bit of an advantage over, I think, a lot of veterans who aren't really sure exactly what they want to do when they get out. So that was the plan for me from the beginning.
Well, for me, after my deployment, I knew that I couldn't do that again because I have a son, and I didn't want to go through the pain of leaving my son and my husband once again. So I wanted to make a better life for myself, and by going to community college, I knew that was the right path to go. So that's ultimately why I started going to college, because I knew that the Marine Corps life wasn't for me anymore. As a mother, I have to take care of my son. So that's why I started going to community college.
I attended college. When I was in, we had no Montgomery GI Bill. We had no post 9/11 GI Bill. We had nothing. We had what was called a VEEP program, and where, okay, you put away some money and we'll match it. Well, in 1982 and 83 and 84 and 85, enlisted hardly made any money, so how could you put away anything? So I essentially paid for a year of college on my own in 1999 in Arizona. Didn't even consider, knew I had no benefits, so I don't even think I told the college that I was a veteran at the time. Lo and behold, recently out comes the VRAP program. So essentially, for those of you that don't know, that is for a certain age group segment of the veteran population that did not receive any of those benefits, and it gave us an opportunity to go back to school. So I get this email about 3 in the morning, and it says, well, we'll pay for you to go to college, to go back to school. So I said, that sounds like a great deal. Well, it just so happened that about 6 months earlier, I had moved over to Garden Grove area, and every morning I would walk my dog in the morning and walk her through this campus, Coastline Community College, and I was like, oh, this is a really neat looking campus, so it'd be nice to be able to go back to school if I could afford it and go to school here. So when the VRAP program came out, I knew they had a Veterans Resource Center because I had seen the big flashing sign and Veterans Center inside. So went in there essentially and said, okay, they have this new program out. I have no idea what to do. Where do I get started? What do I do? And so I knew I needed to get more education to get more CompTIA certifications for the computer industry, and this gave me an opportunity.
Great.
So upon completing my my term in the Marine Corps, I was stationed at Camp Pendleton, and then I went and I stayed with a buddy, pretty much lived on his couch for a good amount of time upon, finishing my Marine Corps term. When I ran out of money is when I decided to go to college, and the first campus I stepped onto was Saddleback College.
It's a good answer. But I think if I could just interject something for a second, I think one of the things that hopefully you're getting already from this panel, and this is just for veterans, is the incredible diversity of experience, diversity of backgrounds, motivations, that all go into signing up for school and coming to school and really different goals and ideas. So while we're going to be talking a lot about Veterans today, and it's easy to talk in kind of generalities, I think it's really important, and this panel does such a good job of exemplifying this, the incredible diversity of experience that when we're talking about veterans, we're really talking about individuals who have some common experience, but also some very unique experiences. And I really appreciate that about this particular group. I'm going to ask you guys also, starting from the other end, what adjustment or readjustment challenges you experienced getting out of the military, and also when you first or currently as a student veteran? What are some challenges that you could talk about?
So my deployment to Iraq wasn't locate, close with, and destroy the enemy. I didn't have a lot of open combat. I didn't lose anyone while I was there, and I didn't get shot or shoot anyone. So I'm not eaten up with PTSD like you have some people have those circumstances. So I assumed that my return to Be Polite Society would be a pretty easy transition, and I was ready to be done with the military. I'd closed that chapter, and I was going to go get my education. And I didn't realize until midway through my first semester how much the institution had changed me. I couldn't relate to other students, nor did I really want to do so. I felt like I was the only person doing the work, which was an interesting kind of an experience. Me and the other veterans who I later realized were very interested in staying in school. I guess we had all done blue collar work, so we realized that we better pay attention. And then the other thing is bureaucracy. In the Marine Corps, yes, it's a bureaucracy, but you can call your gunnery sergeant and he can fix it. And he can go there and he can talk to whoever's in charge, or he can go tell the lance corporals that are working there that they better get these parts, or get us this ammo, or whatever it is we needed. In the civilian world, you don't necessarily have that benefit. You've got to navigate everything yourself, and as a veteran, you've got to juggle veterans' health through the VA. You've got to juggle the GI Bill through the VA. There's college financial aid. There's college registration. There's actual, any other benefits you want to apply to. And at least I can speak anecdotally what I've heard from others and in myself. When military personnel are faced with bureaucracy, they want to throw their hands up and say, we don't want to deal with this. We'll do without it. I think a lot of people do without services that are to their benefit because they don't want to put up with nonsense. And what we see is that, I don't mean to tell all of you that your jobs are nonsense. It's great, you're doing great work. Just fix the bureaucracy. Anyway, so those are the issues for me. I would just get angry and I would say, I'm not applying for financial aid because I don't want to go in that office and fill out a bunch of forms and be told that I didn't shade this box properly, or whatever the circumstance may have been. So those were the difficulties that I had. I went from living with 60 of my closest friends to being, me and my girlfriend and my dog, and working every day, coming home, eating, sleeping, studying, and doing it again. And it was more traumatic than I like to admit, but yeah.
Well, for me, I found all the logistical aspects of going back to school rather easy. What the challenge for me was an emotional challenge. I had to, I guess, turn off my Marine Corps mentality and of that mean, aggressive, assertive person. And it was kind of hard for me because everyone around me was like, wow, what's wrong with you? This is not the Jocelyn we knew before. I came back and I was a different person. So that was my challenge, is just being able to work with my issues of my anger issues, and working with a mental health therapist at Citrus College really helped me get through that.
Not to put words in your mouth, but we had talked also earlier a little bit about being a woman and a female veteran, and how for you think that might have made it even a little bit more difficult or complicated in terms of readjusting to the behavior that was expected of you.
Yes, like I was telling him earlier, as a woman in the Marine Corps, I was around males all the time, so I had to be this mean, aggressive person because I didn't want to let anyone step all over me. So when like I said, I came back and I was still that person, and everyone was like on the offensive, like, whoa, Jocelyn, calm down, it's not like that anymore. And I told them that what was the hardest part was bringing that home with me at night to my son. So, like I said, working with the mental health therapist at Citrus helped me a lot. So I'm still going through issues, but it's a lot better now.
Thank you. Over for you, Tom.
My adjustment has been twofold. So not only being a veteran in the classroom, but probably the oldest one there, even older than the teacher most of the time. So I think the frustration sometimes in seeing the younger students show up late, especially now, I don't see this too much with the veteran younger students because the discipline has been instilled. You'll find that most of the time. But, you know, just you're half hour late and you didn't even read the chapter and you're not even answering questions, you're not participating. Oh, you didn't do your you haven't done your homework for 2 weeks. And why are you wasting everyone's time in here? Why are you wasting the instructor's time? Why are you doing? So that adjustment, because I'm used to in the corporate world and where I'd worked for years in the computer industry is here you get it done and you do it, especially in the military. Here's a task, you get it done. If you see something that needs to get done, you get it done. But now all of a sudden you got these kids out of high school that are like, oh, mom and dad are paying for school and I really don't want to be here. Then the adjustment of them looking at you is like, who is this old guy in the classroom here? Who is this guy? Also, I think the trouble, it wasn't a problem with me as far as the logistics going through, because like I say, I went into the Veterans Resource Center and said, okay, they have this VRAP program, where do I get started? What do I do? And they helped me to navigate through all of the myriad of paperwork and everything that needed to be done. And that was real important, I think, because with everything that was going on, that was one thing I didn't want to have to be frustrated with. I want to be able to focus on doing my schoolwork. I want to be able to focus on doing the best I can for that. I don't want to be frustrated with all that other stuff. And so I didn't have that too much of a problem with any of those type of adjustments.
Great. Some of the adjustments that I was faced with and had challenging, times with was relating to students, other students in class, learning, how to study again, how to ask for help rather than, take the initiative. Any decision you make is a good, decision if you're confident in it. But it was just different. I mean, Saddleback does such a great, awesome job with student veterans in the community there, with the VETS program, the VETS Center, and the assets that everybody, plays part in at Saddleback. But the classroom is a different environment. It was almost scary. It was pretty much scarier than, combat, like in your face kind of stuff. And I didn't think, 18, 19, 20-year-old, students would intimidate me as much as they did, but, I was pretty intimidating stepping into a classroom for the first time in over 6 years. And so, yeah, just my readjustment into the classroom environment was probably one of the hardest things I've had to deal with since returning to school.
I'm really glad that you mentioned that, because just as a side note, one of the things we were talking earlier about together as a group was sometimes instructors will tell me or faculty will tell me that they or someone they know is intimidated by veterans, that veterans come across in a particular way that's assertive or even sometimes aggressive. And I think that one of the things that can get lost, and that I think you did a great job of talking about, is that you yourself can be intimidated by the process of going to school, by knowing what the new rules are, by knowing what the new culture kinds of expects of you. And I think one of the things that gets lost that was just talked about is how intimidating that can actually be for people who we often think or might think can't be intimidated by anything. So I'm really glad that you brought that up. I want to ask you guys to talk about the kinds of experiences and connections on campus that had the most positive impact on you. What worked? What worked for you?
So I also went to Saddleback, and I told you guys about the bad earlier, and that was just me trying to do it by myself. And I finally swallowed my pride a little bit and said, well, maybe I'll go to this Veterans Center and see if somebody has done this before. And I went in there were 8 or 9 guys talking about war stories and what unit they were in and how this one was better than that one and so on and so forth. And I fell into it immediately, and I realized that's really what I needed, that there's no need to reinvent the wheel every time a veteran goes to college, that he can learn from the people who did it, a week ago and tell him this is what hey, go down there, ask for this person, this counselor will make sure that you get exactly what you need, or here's a veteran specialist counselor who can actually, get you on track for the classes you need, and so on and so forth. Or just, if you want to complain about, complain about the kids or complain about a certain professor or, talk about the best ones to take. That was the experience that I think really turned the corner for me. And in particular, Terrence Nelson became the gunny that I talked about earlier. If I needed something fixed or I needed help or I needed to know how to go somewhere and get something taken care of, I could send him an email and explain my issue, and he would tell me what I needed to do, or he would help me personally. And that's what really made the navigation of the system click and work. And things got a lot easier after that. Having that, the fellowship, the other veterans, getting involved. I got a job. I joked that I've never had a real job. They couldn't fire me from the Marine Corps. So, but I actually had work, and I worked as a transition assistant there in the center, and had a little bit extra money in my pocket, and was able to help other veterans navigate the same things and learn a little bit of the system myself. So that was the turning point, is reaching out and getting the help that was offered. Yeah.
Great.
Well, like you said, I think having a veteran resource center was a great impact on my college success, and also having amazing staff that worked there, like the program directors, Monica Christensen at Citrus College and Catherine Ward at Fullerton. Having certifying officials that actually care about their veterans, that understand that these veterans need the money, that they have a family, and that was amazing, because the certifying official that I had previously, she would go above and beyond for us. She only worked part-time, but she would come in after hours and still make sure that she was certifying their students so they could get paid on time. And that, to me, that's a great thing to have at Veteran and Student Service Centers.
So like I said before, I walked in not knowing where to start, and having people there guide me through the process at Coastline would just say, okay, well, this is where we need to get you an ed plan. We'll set you up with a counseling appointment. Okay, this is the next step. You need to make sure that this paper, and then, I was talking earlier about, because now I have a chance working part-time at the Veterans Resource Center and helping other veterans and guiding them through those things. And I think in today's society, a measure of success for a person has been placed upon how successful you are, what kind of job you have, what kind of status you have, how much money do you make, what kind of car do you drive. And what I've seen, especially, and I can just speak for Coastline because that's where I go to school, the positive impact for me, I think a measure of success needs to be measured of how much you pour into others today, not how much you are successful yourself, but that measure needs to be how much you're pouring into others. And what I see there at the family community of Coastline is them pouring themselves into these veterans and pouring themselves into others. And that, to me has been such a positive experience to see that and say, that's success. That's what it's supposed to be about in today's society. That's where it needs to be. And so that's been my positive experience.
For me, it's kind of hard to follow Jack at the end. He's one of the veterans that kind of paved the way for me, with the Veterans Center that he had mentioned also on Saddleback. To be more specific though, like Saddleback, they spoil their veterans, and it's awesome. I love it. The way that they take care of us, the most positive connections was the Veterans Center. You find the camaraderie in there as well. You see your brothers and your sisters, the ones that you felt like you've lost contact with. Well, no, they're actually on campus. They hide out in their own little office. So to stay on track though, the most positive impact would probably have to be John Castillo. He's an AM Vets representative. He's the one who got my claim put in for my disability upon completing the Marine Corps, which was great. He got the ball moving for that. Colin Williams, the counselor that I talked to, really shaped my career path in his applied psychology class that he offers at Saddleback. Terrence Nelson over there as well. Got a whole table of us at Saddleback on my left side. And Brenda as well. She's always in the office as well to make sure that everybody's doing okay. And they do a really good job of checking in on us. And like I said, they just spoil us. So, but go Vet Center.
Having had the privilege of doing a number of welcome home trainings and being at a number of different campuses around the state, and this kind of what you guys are talking about kind of reminds me of this, and I wanted to call attention to it briefly, is that on campuses where things are really working well for veterans, one of the things that I always find when I ask them about positive experiences, very much like this question, is that you get individual names. So when a veteran talks about something being positive, they'll actually say someone's name. John, Amy, Mark, Todd, Terrence, helped me, right? When they say that they have personal connections with somebody on campus. And when they're frustrated with campus, they'll say things like financial aid. Right? So, to me, what I get out of that, and it's not rocket science really, of course, is that personal relationships with you all really make a huge difference. And in this case, we're talking to students you may be years removed from those relationships. It may have been a while since you had those relationships, but you're still talking about those people by name. You remember who they are. You know what they did for you. And so I can always tell the campuses that are doing that, because when we ask positive experience, they say, it's Mark that helped me, or it's Nancy that helped me. And that really kind of sticks in my mind today as I listen to you all. As we talk about the kind of, before we go into future goals, I want to ask you all to talk a little bit about one accomplishment you are most proud of from your time in service. One of the things that can happen, and you'll hear more about this later in the weekend if you haven't heard before, is, of course, when you start up at community college, a lot of veterans will talk about, really being very distant or disconnected from the experiences that they had in the military and starting fresh at the bottom of the higher education ladder. And maybe some of the things that get lost is all the things that the veteran may have accomplished before they got there and who they were before they arrived on campus. And so I wanted us to just take a minute and hear about the kinds of accomplishments, incredible accomplishments, that some of these folks have had in the military.
Well, I'm not gonna lie. We joined the infantry, because you're hoping at some point you get to apply this training, and I never got that. Like, I never got into a gunfight. Interestingly, I joined during war, and it never happened. But what I did get is an 8-month deployment to Iraq, where I got all kinds of different things out of it. I picked up corporal in Iraq. I was promoted to the first NCO rank over there, which is a big deal in the infantry. It's corporals are gods. We run the show. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. But so I went from being a gunner, starting there, to a team, and then later a squad leader. I had 8 Marines, 2 trucks, and any attachments that we took out. I did dozens of security patrols, and I studied Arabic under a course that I was sent to before we deployed, and then I studied every day with the interpreters. I'd bring them cigarettes and candy, and we'd go through the alphabet. So I learned a great deal of that, and I was eventually an interpreter. I worked closely with the native speakers, and I monitored their conversations to make sure they were being above the board. Like you hear somebody say a good solid minute of spoken word, and the guy says no. And like no, he said more than no. So having had that leadership experience and having had responsibilities placed on me, and then carrying it out and carrying that burden is something that I carry with me. When I think about things being difficult to this day, I can always say it's been a lot harder than this. It's been a lot more dangerous than this, and that's what I think I feed off of, and that's what I think is the key to being successful as I move forward in my life.
I know you said one thing, but I can't think of one thing. I could think of many things I'm very proud that I did in the Marine Corps, from graduating boot camp to going on deployments and courses. Everything that I did in the Marine Corps, I hold very dear to my heart, and I'm very proud of all the accomplishments I did. And like, I can't name just one, I'm sorry, but yeah, I'm sorry. Well, like I was telling him earlier, I think one of the, I guess, things I find kind of funny and I'm very proud of is coming back from a deployment and be able to pass my physical fitness test 2 weeks after, and that's kind of a huge deal because no one works out during deployments. So yeah, that was for me.
I think one of the things that we were talking about earlier, I had mentioned to them that whenever we are deployed somewhere and we're overseas, we are in essence an ambassador from the United States. We may be the face of the United States to a certain person that happens to be from Korea, in my case. The only person that they'll learn to know from the United States. So we are the ambassador. So one of the things is when I got to Korea in 1984, is I went to the library before I even walked outside the gate. For 4 weeks, I got cassette tapes. Back then, most of you, you should know, but some of you might, what's a cassette tape? Anyway, back then it was cassette tapes and books, and I learned to speak Korean. And I spent all of my free time in the evenings learning to speak the language. I said, if I'm going to be here for over a year, I'm going to learn to speak the language so I can converse with these people. Made friends with a lot of Katusas. Katusas were the Korean soldiers assigned with the American units. And so, especially when you're trying to learn a language, that's real helpful. You get them to help you, and they're very eager to help. And then I made a lot of friends with the local villagers around us. So, never realized the impact of that until years later. So you got to think about this. This is in 1984 and 85. So in 2001, I would say, maybe 2003, I was on one of the military blogs, and a captain from the U.S. Army, she contacted me via email and says, "Are you the same Tom Boskamp that was stationed at Camp Stanton in Korea?" And so I emailed back, "Yes, it was me. That was me." And she said, "Do you remember a Mr. Lee? He had a farm right outside of Camp Stanton. He always talked about you," and she was there years later, 2001, always talked about you, and you had such a positive impact on him. And I said, wow, then it really hit home, and you said, okay, I was a good ambassador. I really did my country well. And so the neat part of that is now with social media, the advent of social media, we're actually Facebook friends. And his daughter and son, the daughter was this little girl who used to hide around the corner that was real shy until I brought Kraft American sliced cheese. And then she would come out from the corner because they love sliced cheese then. And the little boy was in a bassinet. Well, both of them are my Facebook friends, and we've actually talked on the phone. We'll text sometime in the middle of the night. I'll get a text from them because it's the other side of the world, different time zone. So that that to me was my most proudest moment, knowing that, okay, I had an impact and I represented my country well, and I did well on that. In fact, they're actually even coming next year to visit, so.
Excuse me. For me, the proudest moment I had was my second deployment. I was on a MU, Marine Expeditionary Unit, and I wasn't able to go with my best friend at the time to Afghanistan. He was in a different unit, and he had to deploy by himself. Yeah. Anyways, so he ended up losing his life over there, and it was tough. I found out via email on my second deployment, and immediately we were told that our battalion needed combat replacements. So I raised my hand immediately. I wanted to go. I wanted to do this for him. So I got my chance. I went ahead. I went over there. I did my thing. There's a lot of proud moments that I had over there as well. But I always, stayed true to the fact that I was over there, to serve a purpose, and come home. Well, yeah. So my proudest moment would be completing my third deployment and stepping off that bus and making sure that I came home to my family, my friends, my brothers, my sisters, and yeah, that was my proudest moment.
I want to finish up our panel today by asking our panelists to talk a little bit about where they are now and what their goals are for the future.
So I'm in my second year at UCI Law, and it's going great. I'm in finals right now. I don't know what am I doing here. So I'm going to go back and work on that until very late tonight. But I already have a job lined up at a large law firm in Irvine, and I'm really excited about it. So that's what I'm going to be doing.
Well, I'm in my first semester at Cal State University Fullerton, and I hope to graduate in a year. After that, I want to transfer to USC and pursue a degree in social work, and hopefully be able to work for the Department of Veteran Affairs afterwards.
I'm going to call Jack if I get in an accident. No, I'm just... Finishing up first year at Coastline, actually only have a semester and a half to graduate, and then plan on transferring to Cal State Fullerton. Getting my CompTIA certifications this year for network security, Linux, A+ certifications and all of those, and going back into the computer industry that I was in back in 2001.
So I'm a sociology major with an emphasis in social work. I have great news. I just got accepted into Chapman University. So thank you. I'll be attending the spring semester there at Chapman University. So with goals of accomplishing and receiving my BA in social work with an emphasis in social work, where one day I would like to help adolescent teens, and that crossroad in their life when they need to decide if I'm going to go down this road, I'm going to either hurt myself in my future, or I'm going to go down this road and I'm going to make something of myself. That's my goal.
So I think that's a really good place for us to stop. I want to thank all of you and really thank our veterans for being here today and sharing their stories with us.